I'm going to keep this straightforward because I know you're weighing whether a GPS watch like this is actually worth a place on your wrist or if it's just another gadget that ends up gathering dust. That hesitation is real, especially when you see a sleek box on an Amazon page promising unlimited battery and a solar-charged adventure. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon, and what follows is meant to give you the kind of practical perspective you need before you decide to spend any money. First, let's talk about the problem most people have when they start looking for a durable outdoor watch. You either get a cheap sports tracker that dies after a few days of GPS use, or you grab a high-end model packed with features you'll never touch, and then you're stuck paying for a thing you don't need. The Garmin Enduro 3 Solar lands right in the middle, marketed as an ultra-performance piece of gear that should, in theory, last you weeks on a single charge while you're out on a trail, a bike, or a multi-day trek. The question is whether that claim translates into everyday reality, and whether the rest of the package, that gift box bundle you see in the pictures, adds any real value beyond the watch itself. What you'll notice immediately is the ultralight design. The watch sits on the wrist with a profile that feels almost like a thin band rather than a bulky sports watch. If you're the type who spends hours on the back of your neck with a pack, a heavy helmet, or a heavy-duty jacket, this lightness could be a subtle but welcome relief. In my experience, a lighter watch is less likely to catch on straps or become an annoyance during long climbs, and that's where the design intent shows up. However, the trade-off is that the case isn't as rugged as some of Garmin's larger tough models. The sapphire crystal that you might expect on a high-end piece is absent. Instead, you get a reinforced Gorilla Glass. For most hikers and cyclists, that's fine. But if you're regularly throwing the watch onto rock-laden terrain or using it in a construction setting, you should expect a few scratches over time. Battery life is the headline claim, and it's where the Enduro 3 starts to earn its name. In real-world use, you can leave the watch in full GPS mode for about 50 to 55 hours before needing a charge, roughly 2 full days of continuous navigation. What makes the solar part interesting is that under decent daylight conditions, the watch can add roughly 10 to 12 hours of extra life per day. That means if you're on a moderate hike with good exposure, you could comfortably stretch a single charge across a full week of intermittent GPS checks, heart rate monitoring, and basic smartwatch functions. The battery indicator on the watch is also transparent. You see the remaining percentage and the estimated time left, which helps you plan charging stops without guesswork. But that solar boost isn't a magic bullet. In cloudy weather, dense forest canopy, or during nighttime use, the solar panel contributes little. If you're planning a winter expedition where daylight is limited, the solar label offers minimal benefit. The watch still holds its promise of long battery life, but you'll need to bring a charger or a solar power bank anyway. That distinction matters if you're budgeting for accessories or trying to decide whether you need a separate portable charger. The flashlight on-demand feature is another practical piece to consider. The watch has an integrated LED that can be turned on with a press, providing a focused beam for a few seconds. In a nighttime scenario, say, you need to locate a trail marker on a dark path or check a map from your wrist while keeping your hands free, this can be more convenient than pulling out a phone, especially if your phone's battery is already low. The light isn't bright enough to replace a headlamp, but it's enough for short, targeted illumination. That said, using the flashlight does shave off a bit of the already limited battery, roughly 10 minutes per minute of use, so it's a feature you'll want to employ sparingly. Pinpoint Navigation is where Garmin's reputation shines. The device uses both GPS and GLONASS constellations, giving you reliable location fixes even under tree cover. In practical terms, that translates to the ability to see your exact coordinates, backtrack along a saved route, or drop a waypoint while you're out on a ridge. If you've ever been lost because your phone's GPS jittered on a trail, this watch can be a lifesaver. However, the navigation screens are compact, you'll need to zoom in and out to see enough detail, and there's a learning curve if you're not already familiar with Garmin's map interface. For a casual weekend hiker, the basic Track My Path mode might be sufficient, but if you need turn-by-turn directions, you'll likely end up pairing the watch with a phone or a dedicated GPS device. Now onto the ultimate gift box bundle. The package.